Welcome to our weekly Forex Forecast, and today we will be looking at forecast for the week of January 28th to February 1st, 2019. Just a quick disclaimer here before we get started. This is for educational purposes only. Trading is a risky business, so please be careful with your money. All right, so as usual, we'll start off by taking a look at our calendar here. So one main thing to kind of keep in view here as we go into the week, just on Friday here, announcement was made that the U.S. government will be opening. So we have to keep that in mind. The government shutdown was having a negative impact on the U.S. dollar. So we'll take a look at or we'll have to keep an eye on how things respond now that the government shutdown is over. And with having said that, some of the data points that were not coming out for the U.S. because of the government shutdown will also come out, which means there will be more focus on those data points now that they are out. And on Monday, we do have two central bankers here, ECB President Draghi and Bank of England Governor Carney speaking. So anytime we have central bankers here, there is room for interpretation. So keep that in mind because their comments can have an impact on our markets. And then on Tuesday, we have consumer confidence numbers. Like I said, we weren't getting some of the critical data out from the US here. So we'll have consumer confidence numbers. If it declines, then it will have a negative impact on the US dollar here. Keep that in mind. On Tuesday, we have CPI numbers for Australia here. It was last week or the week before we saw that the CPI numbers for New Zealand came out positive, and we saw New Zealand dollar go up as a result of that. Positive inflation data is very important, and it's usually good for the currency. And then coming up on Wednesday here, we do have a very important FOMC. So we're not expecting an interest rate hike at this point. And from the previous Fed statements, we have seen that Fed has sort of taken a step back from their bullish sort of the bias that they had, or at least how they were approaching things, their overall bullish stance. So they basically came out and said that they are going to look at the data. They are concerned about the overall economic condition, world economy, and the trade wars and so forth. So they will not be doing interest rate hikes like they had talked about before. So that was bearish for US dollar, and as a result we did see US dollar drop. So any of similar comments in the FOMC statement will have a negative impact on, or have the potential to have a negative impact on the US dollar. So that there is very important. And then we have on Thursday. So question here, did the news regarding government shutdown, did that come out before or after the market close? It was just prior to the Friday afternoon close. So we are likely to see the impact of that this week. Now, there was another negative news that came out on Friday that had a negative impact on the US dollar. That was one of President Trump's closest, I think Roger Stone is his name. He got arrested. So that was not for interfering with the investigation that's currently going into Russia and President Trump. So because of that, that was negative for the US dollar as well. So any kind of political problems have a negative impact on the currency. That's why we have been seeing this government shutdown, investigations, trade wars are having a negative impact on the US dollar as well. So we have to keep an eye on our news feeds to make sure that as soon as these comments come out, we're kind of plugged into them. So basically for that government shutdown or reopen news, I think we'll see more of that impact on Monday here or into this week. And then we have GDP numbers for Canada. Canadian dollar has been interesting. We have seen that Bank of Canada is not raising rates as much anymore. They have also taken a step back, but we have seen some negative data, some positive data out of Canada. And as a result, Canadian dollar has been impacted. Plus the oil, it was dropping quite heavily, which caused US dollar CAD to go up. And now last week it actually did well, which caused dollar CAD to come back down. So these things will have an impact on Canadian dollar. The GDP numbers, if they're positive, we can expect dollar CAD to drop. If they are negative, then dollar CAD is likely to go up as a result of that. And then we have these PMI numbers from Japan and China. So when we get numbers from China, they have an impact on Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar. Those are the two currencies that will be impacted. So when you see these Chinese number come out, keep an eye on your commodity currencies. Okay, and then going into Friday here, another important data here, we have our average hourly earnings and non-farm payroll. These numbers, again, are very, very important. They are usually market moving. So we will see, again, these numbers are delayed because of the government shutdown. So now that this data will be coming out, expect US dollar to be volatile because it will be moved because of this these news that are coming out now. And then we have, again, ISM manufacturing PMI numbers for the US. So US dollar, I think, will be volatile this week. So just be aware of that. So that's it in terms of our news. Now let's move on to the chart. So we'll start off with our euro dollar here. So in regards to the euro dollar, it's still trading in this range that it has been trading in for quite some time here, since September, October, actually, it's been here. And it still is. It came down to touch this previous support level, didn't quite break through it. And then we have a bullish pin bar here for euro dollar. So this means that price could go up for euro dollar here. So bullish bias for euro dollar. Target here would be 1.1500, which is the high of the range here. So this is the range that we have, and this is the outer range. So bias is to the upside, looking for price to go up higher here. That's our euro dollar. So let's move on to, so this is kind of what I'm looking at. So bullish bias here, but it's still trading in the range. Pound dollar here, this one has been extremely bullish based on the Brexit news that's coming out. So Brexit news is really driving the British pound here at the moment. Now, we have also seen some positive data out of British pound, which is, again, positive data out of UK, which is driving the pound here as well. So this is looking bullish, very bullish candle close here for the weekly. So looking for price to go up higher here. Now, first target would be 1.3320 level, and then 1.3480. So bullish bias here for our pound dollar as well. Now, do keep in mind, a lot of times there will be pullbacks as well before we generally see things moving forward. So always keep pullbacks in mind. But overall bias here for pound dollar is also bullish. Aussie dollar here was extremely bullish over on Friday here. So we saw earlier in the week that price dropped. Yeah, last week we were looking for a drop. So we did see that drop, came right into the support here, and then it turned around here. Just like all the US dollar crosses, they turned around. So US dollar was just bearish last week. It did have a good start, but then it turned around. So this is looking bullish, again, a bullish pin bar here. So looking for price to go up further. Target here is 0.7320 level. That's the second target, 7220. 0.7220 will be the first target here. And if it gets past this resistance level, we are looking at 73.20. So this is an important support resistance level here as well. So bullish bias for Aussie dollar as well. New Zealand dollar, same thing here. We saw price drop first and then it turned around. And as a result, we have a really bullish candle close for this as well. Now we are into resistance. So for the last 3 weeks, price has just traded in this range. So be aware of that. But other than that, it has closed into the high. So if it gets past this 68.50 level, then we are looking for price to go up higher into 69.20 and 69.80. So the bias here is bullish for New Zealand dollar as well. Dollar CAD here, huge drop on Friday, just like all the other crosses, big moves here. We have a bearish pin bar in dollar CAD. So US dollar is looking weak across the board here. But with the government shutdown coming to an end, things can change there. And then again, with the data, things can change further. So even though things are appearing very bearish for US dollar, that may not be the case. So keep that in mind because of external events that are going on. But from technical perspective here, US dollar is not looking so good because dollar CAD here, bearish pin bar, first target 1.3160 level, and then second target 1.3050. So bearish bias here for dollar CAD. So basically anytime I look for a continuation, I look for a bit of a pullback, and then I look for a continuation move. So in this case, this is the type of move I would expect. So bearish bias for dollar CAD here as well. And let's go to our dollar index before we move further here and before we take a look at other charts. Here we go, dollar index. So let's do a weekly here. Okay, so weekly dollar index here, this is looking bearish here. So again, they're all pointing in the same direction, but do keep in mind the change in external climate. So here, this is looking bearish. I will look for price to move down, drop further. So this is the type of move that I'm anticipating, a bit of a pullback and then a drop, a further drop here. So the candle close here for the weekly is looking strong. So I will look for further continuation of the bearish trend here. So from technical perspective, things are looking bearish for US dollar here. So let's move on to other currencies. Euro pound here, huge drop in euro pound with positive, all the positive stuff coming out for our British pound here. So this was a drop last week. We were looking for a drop and now we are into the support. So be careful with this one. So this is very bearish, looking quite bearish, but it is into support level, which means things can turn around. So we have to be aware of those turnarounds, but this is looking bearish. And as a result, bias is to the downside. And I'm looking for a move like that. So first target here is 0.8550 and then 84.50. So bearish bias here for euro pound as well. Euro Swiss franc here, let's have a peek. It's been still trading in a range, but last 3 weeks we have had bullish candle closes here. Not seeing a huge momentum here, small candles, but still looking bullish. Now, first test here will be to see if price can get past this resistance that it hasn't been able to break in last several weeks. So here we have two scenarios. If price breaks through here, because we are seeing this bullish trend here, then I will look for a move like this. So bias is to the upside. But again, we have to see a break of this resistance level, which it hasn't broken in several weeks. So if it does manage to break the high here, then looking for it to go further, 1.1450 will be the target. Now, if it cannot break this resistance, then I will look for price to basically come back into the range that it's been trading in for the last several weeks. So those are the two scenarios there, but bias for now is bullish. Pound Swiss franc here, this one has been very strong with all the pound, well, all the pound crosses are looking bullish. So with pound being strong, this one has also been strong. So bias is bullish for this one here as well. And I'm looking for price to go up further. So in this case, I am looking for maybe a bit of a pullback, and then we are into resistance right here. So this one we have to get past, and then we have this resistance as well. So we just have to see how price sort of behaves here. So bullish bias for now. First target is 1.3150, which is fairly close. And then we have 1.3280 and then 1.3500. So 3 targets here for pound Swiss franc, but bullish bias here. Dollar Swiss franc here, this one kind of traded in this range all week, and now we have a bearish pin bar, looking for price to drop further in this case. So target here will be back into the bottom here. First target 0.9850 and second one 0.9780. So bearish bias here for our dollar Swiss franc. Let's go into the yen crosses here. Pound yen here looking quite bullish. And in terms of the moves here, I am looking for price to go up further. So a bit of a pullback. And then next target is 145.80 level. And then if it gets past that, then we could see it go further into 150. So bullish bias here for pound yen here. All pound crosses have been very strong. Okay, so first target 145.80, second target 150, so bullish bias. Euro here, euro yen is looking bullish, but it's not as strong as pound yen that we have seen. So here we are into this resistance level here, but there is room to the upside. There's this candle, this inefficient candle that could get filled here. So bias, I would say, is bullish, but we have to be careful with where it is currently because it could come back into this range that it's been stuck in for the last 3 weeks here. So I would say bullish bias, but be careful with 125 level. If it holds below that level, then it can come back down towards this 123 level here. But if it breaks through, then 125 to 12600, 126.00 will be the first target. And if it goes further, then it can go into a 127.20. So bullish bias here, but be careful with this strong resistance level here. Support turning into resistance. Dollar yen here, this one not looking that strong. We see a pullback here. So small, really small move. Price mostly just kind of stayed in this range all week. So which means that this one could come back down here like this. And if it holds above, then we could see a further move to the upside. So this is the overall, the bias is bullish, but looking for a bit of a pullback in this into 109.20-ish area. And if it holds above, then it could continue higher. So from our perspective here, it's still looking bullish because if it doesn't break down here, this support resistance level, if it doesn't come through, it can go further. So in this case, I would say we could get a move like this and then a further move higher. So first target is 110.50 and then second one is 111.20. So this one overall, I am seeing it as a bullish one, but looking for a bit of a pullback there as well. All the yen crosses have been very bullish here. So Aussie yen, it dropped and then it has gone back up again. Right now it is into resistance, so we could get a pullback, but if it goes further, then looking at 80.50 and next level would be here 82.00. So right now we have bullish bias, but again, we are into resistance, support turning into resistance here. If it doesn't break above, then it could come back into this range here. So that's something that we have to keep in mind. Some of the crosses are at these interesting levels where if they cannot break through the high, they can come back into the range and drop. So Aussie yen is one of those as well. It can do this. New Zealand yen here, this one is looking bullish. Like I said, after that, after the positive inflation data came out, New Zealand dollar got a boost. So we have a big bullish candle close here. It did drop last week and then it turned around just like all the other crosses did. Mainly was because of the US dollar there. So right now looking for a bit of a pullback and then a further move to the upside. So New Zealand yen is also bullish. Our target here is 75.50 and then 76.20. So those are the two targets. So bullish there as well. All right, so let's take a look at our commodities. Our gold finally broke through the range here and now it's headed higher. So this is looking bullish. We have broken out of that range that it was trading in the last 3 weeks here. So now we are, the bias is bullish and next target is 1309. So in this case, I'm looking for a bit of a pullback and then a further move to the upside. So bullish bias here, 1309 will be the first target. And if it gets through that, then 1322. So bullish bias for gold. Oil has been trading in this bit of a range here for the last few days. This is the resistance that the pullback came to, and now we are at the same level. So from a weekly perspective, this is looking neutral. Overall, this is a pullback here, but like I said, the candle close here for the week is neutral. So in this case, two scenarios. One is that price goes and tests the high again at 54.50, cannot break through, then I would look for that move because it is an important support resistance coming all the way from here, reacted here, and now it bounced off of this week. Now, if it goes to test it again and stays below, then I will look for a drop, which means if oil drops, it's not very good for dollar CAD because it will move higher then. So it will have a direct impact on Canadian dollar. So that's first scenario. Now, if it does manage to get through this resistance level here, then looking for a pullback and a further move to the upside. So right now it's just is at a critical point where if it doesn't get through, then we're looking for a further move to the downside here. And if it does get through, then there is room for it to go higher into the next level at 57.68 level. So that's oil. Copper, a huge move up in copper. So on the weekly now, we have a bullish candle close, which means looking for it to go further. So we have a bullish pin bar. A lot of the pairs have a bullish or bearish pin bars. That's interesting. Usually we don't see so many pin bars all at once. In this one, so looking bullish, next target is 2.78, so 2.80. So bullish bias here for copper as well. All right, so let's move on to our indices. Before that, we'll have a quick peek at silver to wrap up the commodities here. This is looking bullish as well. Looking for it to go up further. So this is bullish. Now we are very close to the resistance here. Now, if it manages to get through, so that will be the first hurdle at 15.80. But if it manages to get through, next one is 16.20. So bullish here for silver. And Bitcoin is kind of sitting in that lower part of the range. And when it does that, it tends to break down. So this is, I would say, is looking bearish here. And we could see a further drop. So we have a bit of the triangle thing going here. And if it breaks down, then we could see it come back to test that level once again. So right now I would say bearish, but if for some reason it holds above this 3430 level, then it could do that. But my first bias will be to the downside. But again, because we are into support, you never know. Support can hold and it can go up further, but it's not looking that strong to me. My bias is more towards the downside here. Okay, last item here, indices. S&P 500 looking bullish here. It did drop and now we have seen price go up again. So in this case, now there is bearishness in this candle. And as a result of that, it could drop and to come back and test the support once again. So that is an important thing to keep in mind, because when we have a bearishness in the candle, it can drop. But overall, though, bias is still to the upside here, and we could see it go further. And next target level here, I think we could just go all the way to the high of these candles, and it will just likely fill this range that we had seen previously. So bullish bias, let's say 2814 is the target, which is the high of this previous range here. Now just be careful of the small amount of bearishness that's in there. Japanese here, Nikkei is looking bullish as well. We saw a drop and then a pullback. It is into resistance, so this is an important resistance. As we can see, price tested this level multiple times. So we would have to see a clear break out of it, and then we could do one of these moves here. So bias is bullish overall, and we could see price go up further. So in terms of targets, first target would be 21580, and second target here could be all the way to the top of this candle here. So bullish bias for Nikkei as well. NASDAQ here, this is also looking bullish. It looks like all of them pulled back up. So they did have a nice drop and now they have gone back up. So this is looking bullish. But again, we are into resistance, which means things could change and it could drop. But should it get through the resistance here, which is likely, and the next target would be 7150, back into the top of this range that it traded in for a long time before it dropped here. So bullish bias for NASDAQ. Dow Jones here, this one is also looking bullish, and next target here is back into 11659. So bullish bias for Dow. And FTSE here is the only one that is looking a little bearish. So it went into this resistance and turned around. So this looks bearish. And next target here is 6668. And then one below that would be 6550. So FTSE is the only one that's looking bearish of all the indices. Rest, everything looks bullish at the moment. So that's all I have. Any questions before we wrap it up? Okay, I don't see any questions coming through. So we will wrap this up. You guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I'll see you again next week. Bye for now.